now I can't have acidic food, so like lemon and tomato but like lemongrass and bitter melon. I've been trying
Yeah.
different things to see
Or rhubarb.
what is sour but not acidic. And
Yeah.
so it's been a fun journey learning
Do you
how
guys
to.
have Oregon grape out in? Probably not, but do you have
Um,
Oregon? Have you heard of Oregon grape? Yeah,
I haven't, no.
yeah, it's pretty tart and
Yeah.
tannic, but also has that like sour flavor that can be
So
really fun to add to things.
lemongrass. All right, we are live. I am so happy that you have been willing to come from live from Alaska and share some of the wild stuff around because it's intense and short season, so it's hard to like fit things in, right?
Yep. And actually this year even more so. So what's happened is it's taken longer for the weather to warm up, and also there was a little less snow in certain areas around where I am. So it's kind of accumulated into like almost a 1 month delay in the berries and kind of the things that people are looking to forage and put up. So it's been interesting to just like notice all the changes in the plants, even though this is my first time um, on the Kenai Peninsula. It's been interesting to be able to see how it's different this year than other years.
Yeah, it's like, um, what is some stuff you have picked in the past? Like,
You mean this
I
year, or
mean,
what do you mean?
yeah, this year, yeah.
So, in the beginning of the season, we talked a lot about spruce tips. I use them similarly to how you did, like in a syrup, but I also do sort of like how you do with really good green tea. You brew it a bunch of times, you get a lot of flavor out of it, and then you reduce the flavor in the actual tips. And so then I would put it on top of food after it's been brewed several times. So, spruce tips were kind of the first thing, fiddlehead ferns, and there was tons of them here. Those are really fun to eat because there's no poisonous varieties really up here. And then what else was I eating? A lot of seaweed because we're on the coast, and there was 8 different kinds every time I went down to harvest. So yeah, a lot of that in the beginning, the early season, and then there was kind of like a little hunger gap in between those two where I was like, what are the animals even eating? I think that there's probably like a little storage situation in between the spring and summer foods. And then the berries started coming in. There's plenty of greens. There's so many greens and herbs. Yeah, so most of the larger animals here eat a lot of greens because they would not survive otherwise. Uh-huh.
Um, hey, the other people who are logged in, can you see Lydia? All of a sudden, I can't see her. Just double checking here. It's
No, nope, I can't see her.
Okay, I'm
okay.
going to stop and then I'm going to restart.
No, they're not
If
Stephen.
that helps.
There you
What about
go.
now? Okay, I
Yep.
just had to
Yeah, great.
stop and
Yeah.
restart.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's part of it amazed me when I was in Alaska, how good the service is when you are near towns. It's just like,
As
of
long,
course,
yeah,
I took the train to Denali and there was like, I don't know, 6 hours on the train that there was nothing, no cell service, nothing.
I'm on
But
Wi-Fi. There's
yeah,
no cell service where I am. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So, you just got to do a wildcraft walk.
Yeah, we were foraging berries, and that's when it really hit home when I was like scouting out all these potential spots. And I'm like, there's so much foliage and not that many berries. And that tells me, and this time of year, like mid-August, it should be just teeming with berries everywhere. And they should be sweet by now. And a lot of the berries are not sweet and pretty sparse.
When I
So,
was there in May, they said for the first time in recorded history, the salmon weren't running.
yeah,
It was
it
like,
took it took a really long time for the salmon to come in.
yeah. And so the bears
Yeah.
were like borderline starving because
Yep.
it was like 3 weeks or so later than usual.
Yep.
Because,
It was 2 weeks in the beginning, but that's what I was saying. You get this like accumulated effect because if there's a delay in one thing, then it causes a greater delay in the like down the food chain or up the
yeah.
food chain, I should say. Um, and so, yeah, I would say that the berries here are like almost a month later than normal. Last year was similar from what I was talking to locals about, is that there wasn't a ton last year in terms of berries, but they weren't as late. So when you have delayed and less, then the animals are like, as soon as they come in, they're trying to put it up for winter. So I tread very lightly in those areas where I'm like, I don't want to take away food from anyone, and I can go to a grocery store, they can't. So
Yeah.
yeah. So that, to me, foraging, like, it's all about abundance. And if there's not abundance of something, like, you just take a minute and you figure out how you can nurture that abundance into being, whether that's removing yourself from being there or, sprinkling some coffee grounds in your wild backyard or whatever,
Yeah.
feeding and nurturing what can be into abundance.
I was thinking, oh, just take some berries and spread them over there, but the birds do a really good job of doing that already. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you don't really
Yeah.
have to help nature propagate. It's like we, the only thing we have to do is not overconsume
Don't
so
mess
that
it up.
nature can so, yeah. If
Or just don't mess it up. It's not even about consumption. It's about like not messing up the functional systems that are already there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in Alaska, I noticed, I mean, Denali, how small the animals were there. You think of like a bear as a grizzly bear as huge, and they're like a quarter the size up in Denali because of how much food is up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a high tundra desert.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and um, I probably messed up what it's called, but it was just all the animals that were there were, surviving on a lot less,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so it's a very, they were strict. I mean, they said you mess the ecosystem up here, you will mess everything. So
Yep.
they don't have, unlike other parks, they don't allow, you know, even people to build anything there at all. It's
I
like
think we're going to
the
see
whole
more
town
of
is
that.
right outside the park.
Most of that, I think we're going to see, or I would say we're going to see more of that moving forward. This
Yeah.
like total pack it in, pack it out, because the maintenance of picking up after people and having garbage services and water service and all this stuff is like, that's really resource intensive. And as there's less resources put towards public parks, unfortunately, like, we're just going to see things getting shut down.
Well, I'm going to learn a lot about that next week. This time
Mm,
I'll be in Burning Man. So it's all about pack in, pack out everything. They
yeah.
don't even allow you to dump gray water because,
Yep.
80,000 people go into the desert. You're like, oh, I can just dump some water. But if 80,000 people do it, it makes a mess. And so they make people pack out their gray water and, make sure you don't leave a tent stake because, one
Right.
person leaves it anyway. So,
Yeah.
as a wild forager, what has surprised you about Alaska? Just like, or I mean, the thing that surprises me is when I travel, how much stuff I recognize, even if I go to another country.
Oh,
Like,
totally. And here, actually,
yeah,
that is a good point. That's a lead in, is that I knew that there were a lot of similar varieties and species here to Oregon, but I didn't realize how similar. But the difference is, there's lots of differences. It's like some things are smaller, like tiny compared to Oregon, and some things are huge because they have one shot to make one berry because of the short growing season. So you get this like one giant, amazing, fruit as opposed to like lots of little ones or whatever. I would say that in my mind, there's a little more abundance where I am, but because of that late season, you know,
but it's
things
peak
rolling out.
season. I mean, they have a lot for like 3 months.
Even with peak season, I'm a little bit surprised. And And honestly, like, I was sad scouting out these like berry spots, and I'm like, oh, I can tell that the animals are just barely getting what they need because there's not a ton of abundance. And this isn't some of the spots where I was, you can tell the foliage was super abundant, which tells me that other years there has been abundance. You don't get abundance of foliage without having an abundance of fruit year after year after year. And then with warmer temperatures, you would think, but no, it's like the way that the resources play out when it comes to vegetation and then fruit, flowering and fruiting, is it's actually a little more delicate than I think a lot of people realize, and how what we do makes a huge impact on like the natural world. Like the natural world can absorb so much, but it can't absorb indefinitely.
Right.
So, what I wanted to focus on was basically like this idea of abundance and foraging from what is. Like I can talk about lack of abundance for forever, but I want to focus
Whenever
on
I
what
go
is.
out
And
into the woods and I get my mom talking, I was like, "What's this weed?" And she'll be like, "There's this weed and this weed and this weed and this weed," and then we go back with a basket of greens that
yeah,
everybody calls them weeds, but it's
that's
like
kind of
there's
like what I
plantain and lamb's quarter and you know
dandelion.
dandelions everywhere. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's things people consider weeds are abundant food. Just like
Yep. So that's
so.
kind of what I want to focus on. And my friend lovingly said a few years ago, like, she knows me. And so she knows that every time we go for a walk, I pick things. I'm like, here, try this, try that. And she was like, do you want to come over and eat the scenery? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's totally what I
I
do.
love that.
That is how I walk through the world. I like walk through the world eating the scenery. And there's that exchange that happens with the environment around me that's second nature for me, that makes me feel a sense of place and feel like I'm home wherever I am, because there's that exchange of, energy. So that's really what I wanted to share, is being able to walk around and eat the scenery. So instead of talking too much about specific things, because everybody's going to be in a different place with different abundance, right? And it'll change throughout the seasons. Um, there are many ways to identify plants, but basically, there's very few greens that are going to kill people. There's like water hemlock where we are in the Pacific Northwest. There's very few greens that are super poisonous. Obviously, doing a little bit of research before you go out and eat the scenery will behoove you, just to find out what poisonous plants there are. And then once you know the really toxic stuff, you just kind of go based on taste and visual and what your comfort and desire level is. Um, and I think greens are probably.
I learned growing up that if it's bitter, it's probably a medicine that you just have to take a little bit of, right? But
Yep, yep.
I as a kid I thought, oh, mom just picks really bitter stuff to make me psychologically get better. I'm just like, oh, it's this is horrible. I don't want to eat that. She's like, well, get better. Just like, but it was just like medicine. Yeah, it's more intense, and so
Hmm.
therefore you need less of it, or you can handle less of it.
Yeah, well, you need less of it. And actually, on that note, bitter foods are pretty underrepresented in the American diet. And part of the issue is that bitter foods are really good for digestion, and most bitter compounds aid with digesting protein. So they help to prepare the gut with certain enzymes and also proteins that help to synthesize proteins more efficiently. Like dandelion greens, they're a superfood. That like if you've picked them before, but if anybody's ever picked them before, you see that like white sap that comes out the bottom. That's super bitter. So you want to get ones that are more tender, juicy, newer, and then they have a little less bitterness. And with dandelion greens and a lot of bitter greens, there's like it's bitter at first, and then kind of like artichoke, everything after that can taste a little bit sweeter. So it's the perfect way to prepare your digestion and your palate at the same time. And having things like that raw means that the enzymes are intact. So making like a little dandelion green salad is a really great way to start a meal, or like a little bit of like a garnish before having protein rich meals is an awesome way to incorporate some wild foods into your diet. And dandelions are everywhere.
I need
Um,
to introduce you to my friend Celeste in North Carolina. She's just like all about the dandelions. She's like, yeah, I mean, she's on a personal like social media crusade to get people to eat
nice.
dandelions. So it's like
Yeah, and I make
because it's
dandelion
so readily
wine.
available everywhere.
It's everywhere. So that's the thing about foraging for me, is like really just keying in on where the abundance is and then figuring out how to work with it, which means characterizing what its health benefits are. Like, how much do I want to have in my diet? Like, is this something that I want to eat daily? Which most things no. Or is it something that I can just like supplement in? And I wanted to bring up the idea of like, going out into wild nature if possible and picking a bunch of different things and then making just like a little arrangement for your table where you pick off wild edible things and make tea out of it. You just pour boiling water over it and then you drink it. Super easy way to incorporate wild plants into your diet, specifically like the wild herbs. One of the ones that I had talked about focusing
My mom
on.
will do sun tea. She's like, it's more gentle and
I do
it's
love,
free.
yeah, I do love sun tea. It takes time, and there are things that actually you want to pull out with certain herbs. And you can always Google once you figure out what something is. You can be like, should I do a hot infusion or a cold infusion? One of the things that I love to pick that's kind of like dandelion that you'll find all over the place is pineapple weed. Can you see it? Okay. This is like a
Okay.
little bit dried out. It kind of looks like chamomile, like the center of chamomile, but more round. And when you rub it or when you like make a hot tea out of it, it smells like pineapple,
You know, the
which
funny thing, when you
everybody
smelled
loves
that, I
pineapple.
tasted, when you smelled that, I tasted it. I was just like, it's so interesting how memory works.
Yes.
Like, I
Smell
just like,
memory is the most intact. Yeah.
just like, but, um, like, when I was there, it was just, winter was coming to summer. I mean,
Mm.
there was really no spring, right? It was 2 weeks from no leaves to like fully leafed out when I was there.
Yep. Yep.
And it was it was a lot of ferns and spruce tips were just like popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
And um
I was harvesting some
yeah,
Devil's Club shoots as well. That was pretty good because there's an abundance of Devil's Club where I am. So I don't have to feel guilty at all. Like there's
yeah,
so
just like
much of it that like you just pick it close to the trail is like trail management. Yeah.
my my
So
my
much.
my
Whereas
mom's
like
a
in
little
Oregon,
older
there was
now, and she's
none.
like, people need a lot of iron, and she said most people think, meat, but dark leafy greens have an overabundance of iron. Just
Mm-hmm.
like,
How do I
we
do this?
lost your camera.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Just
How do I
you
do
can't
this?
you can't go very far from the house to actually forage, but it's so green there. Can you forage like within Wi-Fi signal? What's that, like 300 feet? You have plenty. You're muted. So
Okay. So one of the things
it's
that I
so
got was
green. I mean, yeah.
red elderberry, which is super smoky. So the elderberry syrup that you get in the grocery store is black elderberry, which is awesome. I think everybody knows it's like good for upper respiratory and just generally immunosupportive. Super high in antioxidants. The red elderberry has even more vitamin C. The thing with elderberry is you don't want to eat a ton of it raw. And so you'll see, it'll say like, don't eat it, it's poisonous. You can have a few berries and it's fine, but it does have some arsenic. So, or compounds that turn into arsenic in the
Well, I know
body.
wild animals eat it to deworm themselves.
So
Just
that's
like
what I do. And the thing is, when you eat a few berries, like you're not trying to eat a whole handful of these berries. Like they're so flavorful and intense that like one or two will permeate your taste buds for like an hour. So the idea of foraging, obviously you want to know what you're eating, but you just try a little bit, just a little tiny bit, because you never know what your system is going to react to and not react to. So you try a little bit and then you give it a day or two and you see how it goes. If
and
all
also,
goes
I mean,
well, you can try a little bit more.
you could be used to something in one area, and so I like when I move to a new area, I like to
Mm-hmm.
try to find some wild um unpasteurized honey, and it'll
Mm-hmm.
have some of the local pollen in there, and then it'll help my immune system get this boost of
Regulate
what
it.
what is what
Mm-hmm.
is local, right? And then you
Mm-hmm.
start learn your body starts being used to what's local. I
Yep.
mean,
Being
if you grew
being
up in
lo-
the desert and then you move to some place that has a lot of poison ivy, you walk past poison ivy, you just get it. I mean, because you're not used to it. Versus someone who grew up walking through poison ivy, you don't get it very easy. So, yeah, but
And I like what you said about, it kind of puts you in the place It helps you to be seasonally adjusted too, to forage and eat what's around you at the time. I think everybody knows the idea of you are what you eat. Well, if you eat what's around you, then you're part of your surroundings. And there's like a very holistic experience in that goes beyond just the nutritional molecules. It's like how the nutrition is absorbed in the body at what time. It's like bolstering you for the season to come as well.
What do you
So
say to people who would say you can't get enough protein, like just living out in the woods and stuff? Like that seems to be
so
a common question I get.
yeah, so
I mean,
there's
I think we eat
there's
an overabundance of protein,
yeah.
but
So there's nutrients in a food, and then there's how the nutrients are absorbed in the body. And I think absorption has gotten a lot more airplay, I would say, in the last 5 years or 3 years or so. In the Especially in the like athletic world, you can eat all the calories all day long and not get good absorption and synthesis of body tissue from it. So, for me, the protein argument as somebody that is plant based, that does not eat meat, um, I am in Alaska, so I've had like a few bites of salmon just to be where I am, honestly. Um, but as somebody that eats pretty much all plants for my protein, I prize amino acid profiles over actual protein because protein are building blocks. And so your body, it's kind of like the analogy I give is like a Lego castle, right? In order to build my Lego castle out of an animal's Lego castle, I have to break it down and build it back up. Whereas if I just had a pile of blocks, it can go faster, not necessarily. So I try to have as many amino acids in my diet as possible, and greens are amazing for that. I eat a lot of pumpkin seeds. I eat a lot of seeds in general. So that's where I get a lot of my protein from, but greens and seeds. And then you have the accelerated absorption with bitter foods, antioxidants, things like that. And just it's really about maintaining a healthy digestive system. And I think everybody understands the idea of being regular and how you can do your own diagnostics on a very regular basis of how your system is operating. And so if it feels like something's out of whack, just be honest with yourself. Like, okay, what's working, what's not working. I do think it's kind of funny that people have the protein conversation with me because I'm a competitive athlete and I physically clearly don't have a problem making muscle. I'm 46 and I'm still building muscle. So, I mean, I know that it's possible for myself. One of my foods that I focus on is algae as well. And definitely, seaweeds are amazing, but I take some microalgae that has a very complex amino acid profile. And every day I'm trying to build my amino acid profile. So that's really my focus. And variety goes a long way.
yeah.
So it's not necessarily about quantity as much as variety. And I think everybody knows that. You go to a buffet, and a lot of times their business model relies on the fact that people will eat less calories if they have more variety because your body will typically be able to synthesize them better. Yeah, so variety is a big marker of health. Yeah,
Yeah, I
or I would say
personally think in
diversity in your
America
diet.
we have a malnourishment problem, which is why people are fat and or muscular.
Hmm.
People are eating too much protein or too much empty calories, trying to get enough nutrition.
Hmm.
And I think,
And
it's a
the
sign of,
and the carbs that we eat are not easily synthesized. A lot of the carbs that we eat, our body just encases in fat because it doesn't know what to do with it. Like it can't use it. Um, so I'm a big fan of wild berries. They really help to regulate the system. They flush out things. They give you a really good idea of where your digestion is. Um, yeah. So this is definitely berry season up here. I was just eating some wild raspberries. I could take you over there, but I think it's Honestly, I think it's just more fun to kind of talk about because everybody's landscape is going to be a little bit different. I would say most areas of the US, if you haven't already run through your berry season, you probably still have some. And there's so many amazing books at the library. I feel like at this point in time, almost every microclimate in the US has some kind of foraging book or pamphlet. Universities are really great resources of that. In Oregon, we have Oregon State University, and man, do they characterize all of the varieties and, what to do with them, where they grow, things like that. So
And
I think,
more we're getting microclimates.
mm-hmm,
We always had them, but now they're becoming more
more
intense.
distinct. Yeah.
Right. More distinct. Yeah.
But I think educating yourself on what can be around, talk to older folks who've lived there for a long time. Most people have food memories around some kind of wild foraged food.
If
And
you're lucky, they'll show you where that specific little secret little spot for
but what
mushrooms or
I
berries or
and what I
something.
do is I just try to characterize, okay, this grows on a sunny outcropping where there's some moisture, but not too much. It's under trees, and characterize what that location looks like, and then try to find other locations that have those same factors. That's a lot of how I forage, is that I use what I know about the conditions that a plant likes, and then I try to find those conditions in other places. I've been pretty successful here in Alaska with just, not asking people for their spots because people get very territorial,
Yeah,
which
just
I
like
don't really want to impede on and I don't really want to deal with.
well, the funny
So
thing
I just
is
find
they
my
could show
own.
you their spot and you still won't be able to find the thing because so in my area that
Hmm.
there's a guy who carves little mushrooms, and the idea is you take the mushroom to the spot, you throw it out in the thing, and you watch where it lands, and all of a sudden you'll see a bunch of mushrooms around it.
Ooh, that's
If you
cool.
don't have that little, you just won't see them. It's just like
That's so interesting. Well, on that note, I would say that toddlers are incredible at foraging. Once you tap them in to what something looks like in an environment, taking toddlers foraging is like one of my favorite things because they're short. They can see undersides of leaves. And once their little eyeballs get keyed into something, they see it everywhere. So I've
it's just
taken
like
several toddlers chanterelle hunting and it's gone very well. And it gives them a sense of confidence that they can, be useful and find
find the
food as
magic,
well.
find the magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing a little bit, and I hope we'll get to do, a similar thing in Oregon and
Yeah.
California as you travel around and
Yeah.
you can showcase a little of your wildcrafting. We had where I live, we had an eclipse and I had people come
Yeah.
visit and I had a wildcrafter take us around in what is our winter. And it was amazing how much stuff we found in what you would look at as a dead woods. We were
Yep.
able to make like, a salad, a stir fry, and a tea, like four
Yeah.
different kinds of teas, right?
Roots and barks are amazing.
It's just like,
The
so
flavorings that you can get from the area around you are definitely it's everywhere. It's everywhere. You just have to find places that are not sprayed. That's really important because public parks and public lands are being accosted with air spraying. So educate yourself around where is aerial sprayed because if it's
and they
aerial
usually,
sprayed, it's
they're spraying because they're getting a lot of exotics in there that they can't have the time and energy to remove the exotics in many cases.
partially, yes. The
Yeah.
other thing is like dog pee height, areas next to road are going to have a lot of road dust. So just like educating yourself a little bit on places that are safe and then just, add little varieties bit by bit of what you feel comfortable incorporating. And you make teas and sauces and, syrups and enjoy eating the scenery.
So this week, your favorite thing was to find wild raspberries and share that with people.
Wild raspberries. I also harvested yarrow, which is the green leafy and then the white flowers. Um, It's pretty pungent, but it's really great for cramps and just like general female reproductive health. And I like the flavor of it. I balance it out with, some raw honey and things like that. But yarrow grows all over. So
Am
yarrow
I
is
remembering it
something.
right? It's like a very, very intense, like carrot taste almost, or am
A
I
little
wrong?
bit, yeah, a little bit. It's like it's stinky, like it's pungent.
Okay.
We
But
don't really
really,
have
really
anything
super
like
strong.
that in our modern diet, so it's hard to describe. There is it's like a bitter earthiness, but then there's kind of like a sweetness to it, like powdery pollen sweetness to it as well. But really great as a tea, super healthy. So yeah, just get on out there and try and pick some wild plants, do a little research and enjoy yourself. I have a plant app on my phone that I use for a little bit of reference. But go to your library, get a book, educate yourself, have fun.
And watch what the animals eat. But remember, they're acclimatized. So, if you see one just
Just a
like
little bit,
stuffing themselves,
just a little
try
bit,
a little bit of that
a
to
little
see
bit,
if
and wait
you
a
can
day or
handle
two.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know that it's not deadly, right? Because the animal's eating it. But anyway, so thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. Thanks,
Feeding
Aaron.
others, feeding others is love is my motto. So
Oh,
thank you for sharing.
I love
All
that.
right.